One of the suspects in Foolio's murder just made a shocking claim in a viral jail cal, says Yungeen Ace was involved in the hit.
Ace had that money on his head, Ace had to put that 10K up.
This confession is turning everything we thought we knew about Foolio's murder upside down. So now the big question is, will the police come after Yungeen Ace next? I've got all the details. Let's get into it. The viral confession and the arrest. Foolio's case keeps getting messier by the day. And now a jail call has surfaced online and it's blowing everything wide open. The call is allegedly from one of the suspects in Foolio's murder. And in it, he makes some wild claim that have everyone talking. From behind bars, the suspect directly connects Yungeen Ace to the hit. And he doesn't hold back names, explains how it all happened, and says Ace was the one who planned it. Some people are still questioning whether the audio is real. But let's be real, Ace's name has been floating around the streets for a while now, especially when it comes to rumors about putting money on Foolio's head. In fact, go back to the summer of 2024, right after Foolio was killed. A video clip started making the rounds online and it had everybody talking. In the video, a masked-up guy steps into the frame. He's wearing an orange beanie pulled low, his voice cold and serious, and he drops a confession that shook the entire drill scene like an earthquake.
Hey, on everything I love, bro. On the dead homies, bro. I put it on everything, on my soul, on my kids. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro.
The guy was swearing on everything he could, serious as it gets. But what he said next linked one of Jacksonville's biggest rap stars in a way no one saw coming. No lie.
There was money on his head, you feel me? I rock with Ace and them boys, you feel me? ATK, you feel me? I be in Jacksonville heavy, you feel me? If you know, you know.
ATK's his top killers. Those three letters have been tied to Yungeen Ace's crew for years. And now this masked-up guy was claiming he was directly connected to the squad, but he wasn't done dropping bombshells. The biggest reveal was still coming in. When it hit, it sent shockwaves through the entire rap game. 100% facts.
But yeah, you feel me? I did that, you feel me? I handled that because, Ace had that money on his head, Ace had to put that 10K up, told me to slide, told me to smack fool, because, he got tired of that running his mouth playing all the time, you feel me?
10 bands, that's what the street soldier claimed Yungeen Ace put up as a bounty on Foolio's head. This wasn't just street talk or social media rumors anymore. This was someone saying they had direct knowledge, were directly involved, and got paid by one of Jacksonville's biggest rappers. The weight of those accusations hit hard, especially coming from someone who clearly knew how a TK operated in the streets. But what made the confession even more chilling was the way the killer said it, completely calm with zero remorse.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give a fuck, bro. Like, about that money, anybody could get it, you feel me? And, Foolio had it coming to him, so, I don't really feel sorry, you feel me?
The timing of this confession couldn't have been more important. By July 2024, the feds had already arrested 3 suspects connected to Foolio's murder, and the investigation was clearly pointing toward the kind of gang-related warfare that this masked confessor was describing. The suspects, Isaiah Chance Jr., Alicia Andrews, and Sean Gathright, were all facing serious charges, including premeditated first-degree murder. If found guilty, they'd be looking at life in prison. What made these arrests even more serious were the confirmed gang ties. Sheriff TK Waters made it clear in multiple press conferences these suspects were linked to a TK and 1,200, 2 gangs connected to Yungeen Ace. This wasn't random street violence. It was organized, calculated, and deeply rooted in the same gang affiliations the masked confessor claimed to be part of. The web of connections was getting too big to ignore. Foolio's 6-block gang versus ATK and 1,200. This was the same turf war that had been tearing through Jacksonville for years, costing lives and breaking families apart. But law enforcement wasn't just relying on confessions or viral videos to build their case. Their investigation was detailed and methodical, using surveillance footage, license plate readers, and phone records to trace the suspects' movements. What they uncovered was disturbing. The level of planning behind the murder showed that these suspects weren't just acting on impulsivity, had put in serious work. The suspects had followed Foolio all night, tracking him from place to place like predators hunting their prey. They waited, watched, and struck struck when the time was right. This wasn't just street beef, it was a well-planned, calculated attack that showed a level of organization far beyond a typical shooting. This was a military-style execution. As the investigation continued, arrests kept coming one after another. Shad Murphy was arrested in July 2024 after a standoff with police. On January 6, 2025, Dave Murphy was finally caught after months on the run. Now, all 5 suspects are facing life in prison. Javier Murphy could even face the death penalty. That's how serious this case has become. And law enforcement made one thing very clear: this wasn't going to be brushed off as just another street killer. They were treating it like the major case it is. Even as the arrests piled up and the legal system started moving, one big question still hung in the air: what about that masked man's confession? Sure, the clip went viral, but his identity stayed hidden. And as wild as his claims about Yungeen Ace were, none of it ever led to official charges. But now, everything feels different. A new jail call just hit the internet, and it's not just one voice anymore, it's 2 voices, 2 confessions, and both are pointing in the same direction, straight toward Yungeen Ace. So let's rewind to the night it all went down. Beckhouse, his name is written all over it. The night everything changed, June 23, 2024, was supposed to be a celebration. Foolio name Charles Jones was turning 26, and like any young artist who made it out the trenches and found success in rap, he wanted to celebrate big. But in Jacksonville's deadly street politics, a birthday party can turn into a crime scene real fast. What happened that night in Tampa became one of the most shocking and tragic moments in recent rap history. The night started off normal. Foolio and his crew were first partying at an air, but they got kicked out for having too many people inside. No big deal. They moved the celebration to the Holiday in Tampa North near the University of South Florida. But that one change turned out to be fatal. Not because Foolio made any mistake, but because someone was watching. They were tracking him all night, like hunters tracking prey. The way these killers moved was chilling. They followed him from one spot to the next, determined to carry out the hit. This wasn't random. This was planned. Military style. Then at around 4:40 a.m., everything exploded. Gunmen opened fire in the hotel parking lot, letting off dozens OF rounds into Foolio's car. When it was over, Foolio was dead. 3 others were injured but survived. The 26-year-old rapper had survived multiple attempts on his life, had finally run out of luck. The scene was horrifying. Police found 2 vehicles riddled with bullets, proof of just how violent the attack really was. This wasn't a warning. This wasn't to scare anyone. This was an execution. Overwhelming firepower. No chance to escape. Just blood and bodies left behind. And before police had even finished working the crime scene, the rap world reacted fast and loud. But no reaction caused more controversy than Yungeen Ace's. That's when he really showed his true colors. Just hours after Foolio's death was confirmed, Ace dropped a diss track titled "Do It" on June 24, 2024. Timing alone was seen as incredibly disrespectful. This was a man who would later claim to be saddened by Foolio's death, yet he was dropping music that many felt celebrated it before Foolio's body was even cold in the morgue. And the lyrics? They hit like a punch to the face. Any day this week, I'd bet a bleep come up missing. Bleep be trying, bleep be dying. Fans were stunned and furious. Social media exploded with comments like, dropping a diss the same day he died is crazy work. It captured the outrage many felt at what seemed like pure disrespect. But Ace didn't stop there. 4 days later, on June 28, 2024, he dropped another diss track called "Game Over," still aiming shots at Foolio as if he were alive. The message was loud and clear. Even in death, there would be no peace. Beef was still on. But almost a month later, everything started to change. As the jailhouse confession clip went viral and pressure began building Yungeen, Ace's tone suddenly shifted like a snake shedding its skin.
That's sad, twin. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. All condone and shit like that. But y'all just gotta stay. Y'all gotta.
This was the same guy who dropped diss tracks just days after Foolio's death note, suddenly acting like he was heartbroken and against violence. Even more shocking, he claimed they were actually cool. It's crazy, because we were good. I had just talked to him, Ace said. I told him, bro, you gotta lay low. People love you out here. I rock with you for real. But to really understand the weight of that moment, you need to understand the history that brought them to this point of no return. The beef between Foolio and Yungeen Ace wasn't fake. It wasn't for clout. It was real, built on real violence, real bloodshed, and real lives lost in the streets of Jacksonville. It all started in May 2017 when Foolio's 17-year-old cousin, Zan Brown, was shot and killed inside his own home. Dantry Thomas, who was affiliated with Yungeen Ace, was charged with the murder. That one act sparked a deadly cycle of retaliation. That would spiral out of control for years, leaving a trail of pain, loss, and funerals. Things got brutal fast. The streets weren't playing. In June 2018, Yungeen Ace was celebrating his birthday when a drive-by shooting targeted him. Ace survived after being shot 8 times, but his brother Trevin Bullard and 2 others were killed. It was a tragedy that mirrored Foolio's own pain. 2 rappers, 2 birthdays, 2 sets of family members killed in ambush-style shootings. It created a twisted, parallel-shared grief that didn't bring peace but more violence. In February 2019, Foolio's 16-year-old brother Bibi was gunned down. Hakeem Robinson-Akosua, known as TK member, was later arrested for the murder. He even posed with an album cover bragging about it like it was some kind of trophy. The losses kept adding up, and each death only made the hatred stronger. By 2021, the beef had gone fully public. Both rappers were using their music to mourn their people and disrespect their enemies in the most savage ways possible. Yungeen Ace's Who I Smoke, released in March 2021, blew up with over 18 million views, but it wasn't just a diss, it was a musical grave dance calling out the names of Foolio's dead friends like Baby Techie and Lil 9. It felt like celebration and mockery all rolled into one. Foolio fired back with When I See You remix, a cold response that gained over 6 million views. It sampled news reports from the 2018 triple murder that claimed Ace's brother. It was more than rap, it was war in melody. Lyrical battlefield with real lives behind every bar. The back and forth between Foolio and Yungeen Ace kept getting more personal and more dangerous. Real deaths were being used as lyrics, turning pain into punchlines in a battle where the disrespect had no limits. But while the rappers traded bars and built their careers on the names of the dead, the true victims were the families left behind to deal with the pain. No one knew that pain more than Foolio's mother, Sandria's Mazia woman, who had watched her son's rise to fame with growing fear. She wasn't just afraid for him, she had been caught in the crossfire herself. Maze was shot 8 times in an attack she believes was connected to Foolio's rap career. She wasn't involved in gangs or street politics. She was a mother, a civilian, and her near-death experience showed just how far the violence had spread. After surviving, she begged her son to leave music behind. But he didn't stop Mabe because he loved it, or maybe because he felt it was too late to walk away. When she got the news of her son's death, her grief was raw and public. On June 25, 2024, she posted a heartbreaking tribute on Instagram. Rip son Charles. Jones 2, aka Theo, the real-life story documentary coming soon. But it wasn't just sadness in her voice, it was frustration. She wanted people to know the truth about who her son really was. We have to understand that Charles wasn't getting shot at because he killed someone or robbed someone. That's not what happened. All this happened because of rapping, she told reporters. She made it clear, Foolio wasn't a criminal. He was an artist, and his lyricist art had made him a target. Even after she had been shot at close range, Maze asked Foolio to stop making music, but he didn't, maybe couldn't. Rap gave him purpose, fame, a voice, but it also came with deadly risks. After the suspects were arrested on July 29, 2024, Maze stood at a press conference and expressed relief. I am very relieved, she said, but she also used the moment to call for peace, urging the community to end the violence that had taken so many lives. Meanwhile, from the sidelines, controversial figure, Charleston White added fuel to the fire. Known for his harsh and unapologetic takes on hip-hop and street violence, White gave his reaction to Foolio's death with zero sympathy, just raw, unfiltered judgment.
Y'all, they done got that black boy. You say they done got that Foolio boy. I told them they were gonna get him. Yeah, nah, well, I didn't tell them they were gonna get him. I just knew they were gonna get him. Because the boy works hard to get got.
But Charleston White wasn't just commenting on Foolio's death, he was actively fueling the fire. In August 2024, White went viral for encouraging Yungeen Ace to keep dissing Foolio, saying, celebrate his death. Tell Yungeen Ace to make another bad diss song about him. Don't stop, keep going. Make his mama cry some more. This wasn't just insensitive, it was dangerous. Here was someone with a platform pushing for more disrespect, more pain, and more violence. The feud had already taken multiple lives, including a young father and son, and White's message had more fuel to the fire. He defended his words by saying Foolio created this atmosphere that he hurt people emotionally and physically. To many, his words felt like he was just pouring gasoline on an already burning community. As the summer of 2024 wore on and the investigation deepened, the rap world was left facing bigger questions that went beyond who pulled the trigger. The jailhouse confession had put one of Jacksonville's biggest stars in the spotlight. But while the streets debated Ace's role, law enforcement focused on the 5 suspects already in custody. Still, the contrast between Yungeen Ace's emotional public statements and his diss tracks right after Foolio's death raised uncomfortable questions. Questions about grief, about guilt, about what responsibility looks like in the drill scene. And while the world watched, families kept mourning, mothers kept burying sons, and the violence, it didn't stop. The legal reckoning begins as 2024 turned into 2025. The justice system began moving slow but surely toward answers in Foolio's murder case. The 5 suspects, Isaiah Chance Jr., Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, Rashad Murphy, and Davian Murfino, faced the full power of Florida's legal system. All 5 were charged with first-degree premeditated murder and were facing life in prison. Straight up. The evidence against them? Rock solid. Prosecutors had built their case using modern tool surveillance. Footage, phone records, and license plate trackers still follow their every move. This wasn't hearsay. It wasn't built on rumors. It was digital-proofed kind that maps out your entire night second by second. What the investigators found painted a chilling picture of just how far this went. This wasn't random. It wasn't spur of the moment. This was cold, calculated, and highly organized. The suspects had allegedly driven from Jacksonville to Tampa a day before the murder. Isaiah Chance and Alicia Andrews reportedly tracked Foolio through multiple locations before the ambush in that hotel parking lot. The whole thing had the look of a military-style operation plan timed and executed. Perhaps the most shocking evidence didn't come from investigators, but from the suspects themselves. They started snitching. Alicia Andrews admitted she let the others use her phone, though she claimed she didn't know they were planning to kill. Foolio, Sean Gathright, was accused of moving bags filled with weapons into his mom's car. One of his relatives even turned over home security footage thinking the bags were just for cameras. That footage showed just how far this conspiracy reached right into people's homes. But the most powerful part of the prosecution's case? The money trail. Cash App records showed that on June 22, 2024, just before the suspects left Jacksonville for Tampa, Isaiah, Chance received a $390 payment at 1:45 a.m. That money came from an account tied to Jay Breezy, whose real name is Jacory Rivers. Minutes later, a payment was made for an Airbnb $3,616. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a clear sign that the whole thing had been carefully planned. What made this even more serious was Jay Breezy's background. He's known as one of the top rappers linked to the 1200 gang, and he dropped a diss track mocking Foolio's death not long after it happened. The money connection painted a clearer picture of how deep this plot went. It wasn't just street violence, it was organized, gang-connected, and funded. As the trial moved forward, the suspects' stories slowly came out in court like puzzle pieces, falling into place. On August 10, 2024, 3 of the suspects were denied bond. Court ruled they were too dangerous to be let out while awaiting trial. They stayed behind bars where the state said they belonged. Then came a major development. Davian Murphy, one of the key suspects, had been on the run for months. He was finally arrested on January 6, 2025, at his bond hearing on January 16th. The court not only denied bond, but the state announced they would be seeking the death penalty. That moment changed everything. This wasn't going to be a case that got quietly swept away or reduced to just another street beef. The state was treating this as a capital murder case with the highest possible punishment on the table. No deals, no games, just real consequences. This is the ultimate punishment. At first, Alicia Andrews was scheduled to go to trial in January 2025 since she didn't waive her right to a speedy trial. Special attention was also given to the fact that she was pregnant and due in February 2025. But on January 16, 2025, the judge made a major decision. All 5 suspects will be tried together. In April 2026, a unified trial date for the entire conspiracy. Still, not every suspect was willing to sit and wait like their lawyers advised. On January 29, 2025, Rashad Murphy shocked the court. He asked to represent himself and requested a speedy trial, going completely against his attorney's advice. His motion to dismiss his legal team raised eyebrows. Some believed he was either overly confident in his caseer, mentally breaking down behind bars. Things got even more complicated a month later. On February 27, 2025, Rashad was back in court this time to complain about his time in solitary confinement. Prosecutors argued that keeping him isolated was necessary because of concerns he might threaten witnesses, but on February 28th, the judge allowed him 30 minutes of visitation each week with his child and significant other. It became clear his time in jail was taking a toll on his mental health and that this could play a role in the trial. There were even rumors he might go for an insanity defense, though nothing official had been confirmed. Still, the pressure was clearly getting to him. Meanwhile, the legal process kept moving forward, but one major issue still hung in the air. Viral jail confession video and its explosive claims about Yungeen Ace. Even though the video spread like wildfire and made big accusations, the masked man's identity is still unknown and none of his claims have been verified. Police made it clear their investigation is focused on the 5 suspects already in custody. They're not chasing in rumors or masked up confessions with no evidence behind them. Law enforcement's stance on Yungeen Ace was complicated and clear. Sheriff TK Waters confirmed that Yungeen Ace is well known to police and that his movements are being watched. But at the same time, he made it clear there's no active investigation linking Ace to Foolio's murder. Bottom line, they're watching, but they're not charging him, at least. This careful wording made it clear Yungeen Ace isn't being investigated for Foolio's murder, but he's still on the radar because of his role in Jacksonville's wider gang violence. Authorities seem to be walking a tightrope signaling that Ace is a major player in the city's street scene while avoiding any direct link to Foolio's death. What made things even messier was the timing of Ace's own legal issues. In April 2024, he was hit with unrelated gun charges, but they were dropped on July 3rd due to lack of evidence. The fact that these charges disappeared just weeks after Foolio's murder had people talking, though. No official link between the two cases has ever been proven. Still, the bigger picture was impossible to ignore. Jacksonville's gang war had been raging for years, and now it had spilled over into Tampa. Sheriff TK Waters tried to draw a hard line, saying, "Let me be clear, the feud stops here." But in reality, the violence had already claimed too. Many lives, and the legal system was stuck playing catch-up, always a step behind the streets. The prosecution's case is built on a clear principle: if you help plan a murder, you're just as responsible as the person who pulled the trigger. Straight up, this strategy is common in gang-related cases where law enforcement tries to hold entire crews accountable, not just the shooter. The message is simple: if one person catches a body, the whole squad could go down. As the April 2026 trial date gets closer, the big questions still hang heavy. Will the masked man ever be identified? Will his claims about Yungeen Ace be proven or shut down? Will the 5 suspects take plea deals or roll the dice in court, knowing it could mean life sentences or even the death penalty? These aren't just in the mess, they are real people at a crossroads. Isaiah Chance Jr. 21, Alicia Andrews 21, Sean Gathright 18, Rashad Murphy 30, Davian Murphy 27. All of them are facing the reality of spending the rest of their lives in prison, or worse, in Davian's case, possible execution. At the heart of it all is money. The Cash App records and the Airbnb booking showed this wasn't some random act. This was a plan paid for hit, whether it was the $10,000 bounty the masked man talked about or another deal behind the scenes. Someone bankrolled this murder. Now, as July 2025 rolls, in this case isn't just about the courtroom anymore. It's about what it says about rap gang culture loyalty and how far people will go for power or revenge. Real talk, that's a wrap. Y'all, if you like this story and want more, click the card on screen and keep watching.